Okay, let's bring her on. You know her from the She's All Bach podcast. She's one half of the She's All Bach podcast. Multiple time guest on the show, but this is the first time she's been on the show solo. I think I've had Stephanie on solo once now. We're going to bring Jackie on. Jackie Maroney. Jackie, how you doing?
Hello. Hi, Steve. I'm good. I'm happy to be here. Happy to chat through all things.
Yes, and Stephanie was going to be here, but apparently she's too cool for school because she is going to go see the last Backstreet Boys concert at the Sphere this weekend. And
yes.
Just too busy for us plebeians out here.
In her favorite place on earth, and probably your favorite place on earth too, right?
Yes.
And is Vegas your favorite place, you would say?
For sure. Yeah.
Okay. So you guys have that in common because she loves Vegas too.
And she's staying at the Venetian for the first time. So
I can't wait to hear her review about that. Yeah. We love the Venetian. We love the cabanas at the Venetian.
Yes. All right. Let's jump into a few things that have been going on. First off, in She's All Bach world.
Sure.
You guys have made some noise in the last, I'd say, month or so with a couple interviews that you've done. First off, one that came after the interview we're going to talk about. Let's talk about your most recent interview with Kat Izzo, who comes on your podcast. I think it was the third one that she had done. She did Bachelor Happy Hour, then she did Almost Famous, right? Almost Famous, and then she did you guys. And I listened to Bachelor Happy Hour and I listened to you. I didn't hear her on Almost Famous, but I'm assuming she said a lot of the same stuff. But there were some things on your podcast that, I don't know, really stuck out to me. But I'll ask you as the host, what was the thing that stuck out to you the most? Either something she said that she never told the other ones, or the biggest takeaway you had from Kat doing this media tour about her breakup with Dale?
Yeah, I think the most shocking thing for me, and I think she went into the most depth about this on our podcast, was the details about the cease and desist. Because to me, that is taking it to such another level of absolute craziness. And so for you guys that don't know, basically Dale paid a lawyer to write up a cease and desist and sent it to her, all just because she was speaking about her breakup, leaving comments on random things, just saying she was unhappy about the breakup, which is totally within her right to do. And when you just really think through the process of like, okay, this man got on the phone, he called a lawyer, he paid a lawyer, they had it all written up, they had it sent to her. It really just takes it to another level of like the type of person that I think we're realizing Dale is.
And what was her, when you looked at it, you read the cease and desist, and
I almost don't even know if it's a real cease and desist. It is questionable to me whether it was real based on a lot of like the wording. I'm like, there's no way a lawyer wrote this.
And from what she read, the part that she read on your podcast, number one, it didn't seem like this was written by a lawyer, and two, I didn't really understand what they were trying to drive home with her. Just stop doing interviews? What was the point of this?
Exactly, because I don't really know what she was possibly saying that could have required legal action. All of what she's saying is either true or her opinion from her perspective. That's totally fair. I think it really just goes to show how much Dale cares about his public perception. And I think we've seen this all the way back to how he handled his relationship with Claire. Like, this is not new information, but it is always really gratifying to get those receipts, because we always kind of thought he was this type of person. And I actually thought maybe he had grown a lot, because I thought when he left Paradise with Kat, he was maybe in a good place. They seemed like they were a pretty solid couple. And then just to see, oh no, he's exactly the same person he's always been, is like gratifying to at least get that confirmation, you know?
Yeah, it really just seems like, I think in the first one, when she went on Bachelor Happy Hour, these and the exact phrases are escaping me, but things that he said to her along the lines of, essentially, you're the common denominator in all your breakups.
Right, like, okay, good one. Everyone's the common denominator in all of their own breakups.
Yeah, like, so it doesn't necessarily mean they're the problem.
Right.
You know, Dale, you've had 3 breakups, public breakups in the last, ever since Claire's season. Claire, the one TikTok girl, and Kat. So isn't he the common denominator in those 3 relationships? So
exactly. Yeah. And it just kind of seemed like from what she described their relationship to be very quickly after the show, that he's not actually interested in being in a relationship at all. Like, it really seemed that he is more interested in a business partnership where like I go do my thing, you go do your thing. We're a public couple. We post together. Like, she had said to us at one point that he faulted her for wanting like companionship in a relationship. He was like, oh, well, you just seem to really want like a companion. And she was like, yeah, okay, maybe I do. Of course, that's what being in a relationship is having a companion and a friend. And the fact that he like faulted her for that and was like, yeah, it's just like, you're asking way too much of me. It's like so weird that you want a companion in a relationship. Just once again goes to show the type of person he is.
The statement about being obsessed, like you want someone to be obsessed with you, that's not me. And it's like, well, I need obsessed defined, because it sounds like
totally
you couldn't even give her
the bare
basic
minimum
necessities in a relationship.
Yeah.
I don't think Kat was asking, Dale, I need you to text me on the hour every hour. That seems to be obsessive, but I didn't get the impression that. But for him to just say something like that, I think kind of proves either he doesn't want to be in a relationship or he doesn't understand what a relationship consists of.
Correct.
What a healthy relationship consists of. It's just very, very bizarre behavior. And what you said kind of lends to, it almost seems like every relationship that he is in has to be transactional in terms of, well, what can you do for me? What am I getting out of this relationship business-wise?
Yeah.
And it just doesn't seem like he's really interested in falling, deeply, madly in love with somebody. He wants to be with somebody. I mean, let's face it. I don't know who he has dated or gone out with that hasn't been a public figure. We've known the last 3, but the fact that, look, I do understand sometimes the reality show people have a hard time connecting with people who haven't been on reality TV because they will say those people just don't understand the lifestyle and whatnot. Okay. But when Dale's last 3 relationships have been public relationships, they've all ended in breakups, seemingly not well. You kind of have to side eye anything that he says where, he's throwing a cease and desist at her. It just seems like it's more about, I don't know, who can I make content with?
Yes, 100%. That's exactly what I think it is. And I think even in his relationship with Claire, and, me and Stephanie disagree on this sometimes when we talk about it on the podcast. Like, I think he ended up leaving the show with Claire because he cared more about how it would look to America if he rejected her than how he actually felt for Claire at any given time. And then he was like, oh crap, this girl picked me. I'm in too deep. But he cares so much about his reputation and his public image that is why he went along with it for as long as he did.
Final thing on Kat. I think one of the craziest stories she told was the Vegas story. Did she retell it on yours or no?
I don't think so. No, but I did listen to it. I think on Happy Hour, she got into it where they got into some big fight, right?
Well, not just the idea of the trip itself. She's like, it was New York Fashion Week. I wanted to go to that, but Dale said, hey, I got a Vegas weekend planned for us. She's like, oh, sounds fun. I'm going to go to Vegas with my boyfriend.
Sure.
And then they go to Vegas and they stay in like a content creator's house, or maybe it was a hotel room, but it was all dudes. And then it ended up being like she had to do workout stuff, boxing stuff that was
right.
filmed,
she had to be put to work, literally.
Put to work. And again, if that was the trip and she agreed to it, then I would criticize Kat because saying like, well, you can't say it after the fact. But no, she said like, I had no idea about where we were staying, and we were going to be staying with a group of guys until I got there. He made it seem like I was going to Vegas for the weekend with my boyfriend. And then it ended up being, appearances here and there. She goes, he might have said, we're going to have to do some stuff, but basically did not explain that, 1, we'd be staying with a bunch of other people and all of them were guys. And 2, I'd be having to do boxing workouts. Never described that. It's just like, again, Dale, it doesn't really come across well for you.
No,
that's what you're doing. And
no, it just seems like, his priority is clearly work, but I think the catch-22 of all of this is like, his work is influencing and connecting with his audience, but he does it in such an inauthentic way. And because he prioritizes it so much that it actually doesn't resonate literally at all. And he'd actually be better off being vulnerable and actually committing to a relationship with someone. And then your audience wants to follow you and is actually feeling connected to you and then authentically shows up for you. It's kind of funny that like, because he prioritizes it so much, I don't think he actually has as much success with influencing as someone who maybe didn't. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with wanting to be with someone who has a similar career as you and that you're both driven in that same way and you can be in business together. I really think like marriage is the ultimate business partnership. You should be aligned with your partner on a lot of business and work things, but it can't be the only thing. And if he actually knew what was good for him, he would be more authentic, because I actually think that's what's going to help his influencing, not doing boxing videos with Kat where she doesn't even want to be doing them.
I mean, like I said, he's 0 for 3 in his last 3 public relationships. I mean, if that doesn't tell him anything, that Dale, maybe you should dial it back, and maybe you should be interested in somebody that at least try that either A, is not an influencer, or B, is an influencer, but how about keeping the relationship off of partnerships and paid partnerships and posts and see how that goes first? Because you're failing miserably doing what you're doing, which is dating somebody publicly and having to put stuff out there. What if, I don't know, maybe mix it up, try and do something different, and let's see if it works. But I don't know if he's capable of that. I do think
I don't think he wants to.
He can make content with. Yeah,
totally. Yeah. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that as long as the other person is on the same page and wants the same things. So find someone who also wants a business relationship. Go off.
The thing going off of Paradise, and when they came off the show, I mean, seemingly they seemed like a couple that could make it, along with, you know, Alex and Andrew, and obviously Jess and Spencer. With Kat and Dale, at the reunion show, Jess said, yeah, plan is for me to move to Dallas in January. She has since moved to Dallas. Alex and Andrew post all the time. I don't know their living situation. Did Alex move to Chicago? I don't know, but they're still together. When I saw Kat and Dale, either at the reunion or even post-show, again, just like The Bachelorette and The Bachelor franchise, whoever the lead picks, most of the time, they don't live in the same city. So someone is going to have to pack up and move for this relationship to work. And that's when it becomes serious for me, in my eyes, because anybody can get engaged at the end of this thing. It's just like, okay, that's what the show wants. But with Kat, we had known, just based on her social media, she had just moved to San Diego a year ago, had started a new job, seemingly loved her new job. She posts about her job all the time. I was just like, unless Dale is packing up and moving to San Diego, this relationship is not going to work, unfortunately. And I don't know if Kat sees that. And then listening to her on your podcast, Dale did kind of, the rumblings I heard, what he did with Claire. He made each woman think that he was interested in moving to Sacramento/San Diego, breadcrumbed them into thinking he would do it. But ultimately, I mean, if Dale was honest with himself and took a polygraph test, was he ever interested in moving to Sacramento or San Diego? And I think the answer was no.
Correct. Yeah, no, that's kind of exactly what Kat said to us, is that she always felt that he was open to it. And she very much upfront in the relationship had said, I am not interested in a long distance relationship. If we're going to really do this, it needs to be that you would eventually move to San Diego. I'm not interested in moving. And he said he was, until he wasn't. So I think that's another level of this, that, you know, I don't think he ever really saw it being a long-term thing. It was kind of like, oh, we'll keep doing this while it's working for us. But he was never fully in it.
Yeah. And like I said, he just needs to probably take a different route when it comes to dating. Speaking of dating, talking about two people, and I almost screwed up their name. I was going to call them Pel and Mel. Pel.
Yes. Or Pet or
Meg.
Meg, as people like to call them. Yeah, I'm like, wait, Peg, Meg, Pel. I like Meg. I think that's a good one.
So Pel and Meg are just this is wild, because
I'm like, I need to be careful with what I say, because I feel like I'm gonna get DMs from Mel and Peg regardless of what I say. But continue.
And when I send clips out of this on social media, I'm sure it'll end up in one of their Instagram feeds, and there'll be comments underneath the picture because Peg seems to be obsessed with doing that. Whatever.
Yes.
Okay, so here's the thing. Again, another couple that just went on a media tour after, their finale aired in November, I think, and then they go on a media tour 2 months later. Now, I think they were gone for a month or whatever. They traveled. Okay. It just seemed out of left field that these two just wanted it out there about their relationship. And I get some of it was responding to what Cindy said.
Yes.
But you guys were put in a position where you had Cindy on your podcast first, I believe, right? No.
We had Peg first, then Cindy, like almost back to back.
Then Cindy came on your podcast, but then Peg wanted back on to respond to what Cindy said.
Correct.
And then after Peg came on a second time, Mel wanted on.
Well, so she wanted us to bring on Mel. So we had Mel on, and then Peg crashed the Mel interview and then came on at the end.
I came on. Okay.
So yeah, that's how it went down.
So when Mel came on, here's something I want to talk about with the Mel interview.
Sure.
One of the first things he talked about was like, hey, brought all my notes here. I'm ready to go. And, one of you guys called me a train wreck. First off, I don't even remember who did. Who was it that said
it was probably me, because I feel like I'm the less nice of the two of us, me and Stephanie. But I don't even remember saying that. I don't remember the context. And I think it was Stephanie who had said in the interview when Mel brought that up, like, well, what was the context? You can't just pick out one word that we said. Like, what was the full sentence? What were we actually even talking about? Because maybe I stand by that, depending on what the context was. But yeah, that whole thing was very interesting to me, because it really felt like someone who claims they really don't care what anybody thinks about them, and they have a tough skin, and whatever you say is just going to roll right off my back, but they come with detailed notes trying to defend every single little thing that you've ever said about them. Yeah. I'm like, okay, do you care or do you not care? You clearly really care that I said train wreck. I don't even remember why, but what was the context? Maybe I stand by it. Also, when you open yourself up to just being on reality TV, I think you have to expect that our job is to talk about it. I'm not always going to say like the most glowing positive things, but I have been in this industry for long enough to know that, like, just because I say something about an edited TV show doesn't mean I actually like dislike Mel as a person. You know what I mean? I thought we could have a lovely little interview and kiki and chat, but he seemed to be very on the defensive right when he got on with us.
Yeah. And I think the other thing is you can maybe chalk some of it up to the fact that they are of an older generation, which they love to tell us. They're not used to, I'm sure, in the 68 years that Mel has been alive and the 62 years that Peg has been alive, this is probably the first time in their life they've ever had criticism from the public, because they aren't on social media. They've never been on a show before. So I get it from that aspect. But like what you said, like, hey, you got to understand something. There's a difference between hate and criticism. And anybody that goes on these shows is going to get criticized. Do they deserve death threats and being called names? No, but that's not what you guys are doing.
Never.
And the train wreck context, I don't even know what it was, but it could have just been a throwaway of, oh my God, the season's a train wreck. Not Mel specifically as a human being is a train wreck. I don't think that's what you said or the context of it. And
I don't think I would say that either. And that's why it's just kind of like, Mel, like media literacy, read the room. I don't know. I don't think it's that serious, but they take themselves and the show and how people are perceiving them very, very seriously. And I think if you are that sensitive to criticism or feedback, I don't know if reality TV is for you.
Not to mention constantly doing interviews, because every time you do an interview, it's just egging it on. You open it up for more people to criticize the things that you said. And, you know, Peg is, like I said, I'm not joking, and we're not joking here. She's very, very active in the comments.
Yeah.
And it's very, very biased. Everybody that compliments her in the comments, she follows up with a heart emoji or something like that. But anybody that says something that is remotely critical, she has to respond to that in a negative way from somebody who in all these interviews is just like, hey, I'm just here to spread love. I'm too old to deal with any of this stuff.
Yeah, right.
Not too old, but I'm old enough to, I've been around the block. And
no, but she said that. She's like, you know, at my age, you know, you let things roll off your back. It's not that serious. But yes, in every single comment, she is responding.
Yeah. And that's what doesn't make any sense, like at
Yeah.
all.
And it almost like has been adding fuel to the fire, which I think they don't quite understand. Like if Cindy had done her interview with us, everyone moves on, then it's the holidays, we come back 2026, it's a new year, everyone would have forgotten and moved on to the next thing, but they actually are the ones keeping it going. And that's why people keep talking about Cindy. No one would be talking about Cindy anymore if they hadn't continued to keep talking about Cindy.
And we've seen the receipts, because when Almost Famous, because they had an issue with everything, because they were like, Peg, they showed her DM, I would like to come on your podcast. Like, they're reaching out to content creators, asking to come on the podcast. And then when they come on and they get questioned about things, they seem to get offended by it. And it's just like, it's not the way it works. Like,
no,
if you're going to come on and request to be on our podcast, and didn't they do that for you? Didn't Peg reach out to you after Cindy came on? Like, I want Mel to come on.
Peg was very much like, we want Mel to come on, and then I have more things I need to say too, so I'll come on too. Yeah.
And did anything really get resolved? I don't think so.
No. Yeah, I don't really know what they thought they were trying to resolve, other than just like go on a PR tour about like how strong their relationship is and how happy they are. And they seem really happy, and that's wonderful. I want that for them. But I don't really know what they felt that they needed to say to discredit whatever Cindy was saying. And in Cindy's defense, she's allowed to talk about her experience and how she interpreted the situation and the experience. So
after Mel came on, and then Peg came on after Mel, or came on at the end of Mel's interview.
Yeah.
Did Cindy ever contact you guys saying,
no,
I want in again?
No.
Yeah. I figured she wouldn't. Plus, even if she did, I don't know if it would have been smart of you guys to put her on, because that was just going to only induce Peg to be
like, what are we going to do? We're going to do this for the rest of our lives. Like, we put Cindy on, Peg responds. We put Cindy on to respond to Peg, and then Peg responds. Like, the podcast would just become us interviewing Cindy and Peg for the rest of our lives.
It'd be She's All Batch with Peg and Mel.
Literally. Yeah. Like, we have to move on.
Yeah. And it just, again, when I look at it as a whole, it didn't accomplish at all what I think Peg and Mel thought it was going to accomplish, because they were very adamant about telling us constantly how great they are, and things are great between them, and we love our relationship. And again, that's great. But this dichotomy of them saying things are great between us, we just let everything roll off our back, we're kind people. It's like, I don't know, because I see some of the things that Peg did write in comment sections where, because she said, like, I just felt that was wrong of Cindy to, who says that to Mel after she quits the show on him, to say, hey, let's keep in touch. Maybe that was just a throwaway line. If after the show Cindy was blowing up Mel's phone, or like, I need to talk to you, I need some closure, then I could see where Peg might get a little uncomfortable. But she was so hung up on this line of, who says that after you quit and leave yourself, saying, let's keep in touch? I'm like, I don't know. It could just be one of those lines where somebody says hello to you and you say good day or thank you. And like,
sure.
Could have been something like that. She was really hung up on something that was seemingly insignificant, at least to me.
Yeah. Well, you brought up a couple things. So you brought up the comment section. Like, Peg went a little, in my opinion, below the belt, even in the comment section. Like, it's one thing to be like saying that what Cindy did was inappropriate. That's her opinion. That's fine. Not feeling that Cindy is misrepresenting events, fine. That's Peg's perspective. That's her opinion. But Peg was even commenting about like Cindy's hair, or like things about her appearance, which in my opinion just feels a little below the belt. And I don't want this to get mixed up. Like
Cindy's beautiful. Her hair is beautiful.
They're all beautiful women. Yes, Peg is beautiful. Cindy is beautiful. Yeah, and I don't want to get this mixed up, because I genuinely hope Peg and Mel are very, very happy, and I wish them the best in their relationship. But I just think like anyone who feels like they need to get up on a microphone and constantly convince people that they are secure and happy makes me like side eye a little bit. And it's so interesting, because when we first talked to Peg, I was like, what an amazing, confident woman. Like, we loved talking with her. I mean, we still like her a lot. She's a wonderful woman, but I just feel like when you constantly have to keep defending or talking about like why your perspective is correct, there's some level of insecurity there. And that to me like comes across.
And one of the things, and to wrap this
Mhm.
portion of the podcast up with them, is, I did get a little bit tired of, not just on your podcast, of them on the other ones, just constantly reminding us that they're older and they've been through more. I mean, they literally threw it in Ben's face on his
Yeah.
podcast. It's just like, yes, we get it, but you're also showing, while you are older and you've had more experience, we get it, that's fine, but you're also showing yourself as not too savvy when it
Mhm.
comes to the internet aspect of this, and being able to handle the fact that you were on a reality show and people are going to have opinions.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that has to do with a generational thing. So while you say you're old and wise, older and wiser, in this situation, I don't think they were, because I don't think they understood. Again, it wasn't death threats and it
Yeah.
wasn't
Well, and
name
that doesn't
calling. It just,
necessarily even have to be a generational thing. It could just be a personality base that they are sensitive to that and feel like they need to defend themselves. Either way, I don't think it's like the best look.
no,
So,
it really wasn't. All right, let's move on to the
okay.
Traitors. I
Let's do
know you're
it.
a
I love the
fan of the
Traitors.
Traitors. We're talking Traitors. Episode 9 comes out
Yes.
today when this episode airs. And we're at a stage right now where, at the end of episode 8, Rob has recruited Eric. I'm pretty sure Eric has to take it. And
Yes.
I
Or
talked
he
about
dies.
this last week. Why would you get this far and just be like, you know what? I don't want to be well, he's already seen Rob. So I don't even know how he can't not be a traitor with him, because he can't just be
Right.
like,
No, I think he's obviously going to accept it.
he's going to accept it. And he's very, I don't know. He doesn't seem like he has it in him. He seems like way too nice. Rob is a little more cutthroat. Rob has been dominating this game from the beginning. He's clearly the best player on this season. There's a couple faithfuls that seemingly have no idea what's going on, Johnny and Tara, to say the least. They probably aren't long for this game. But with someone as cutthroat as Rob, and now Eric joins the mold, seemingly as another traitor, it's going to be really interesting, because the only way that Eric gets through this is if he's going to have to turn on Rob before Rob turns on him. And how is he going to do that? I don't think Eric and Rob are going to team up and be like, let's carry this to the end. Let's have 2 traitors win this thing. I'm guessing both of them want to win it solo, like Sari did the first time around. So it's a matter of who's going to cut who first. Seemingly, you would think it'd be Rob to be able to get Eric before Eric gets him. We'll see how it plays out these last few episodes. But what do you think about Eric joining us?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it could go one of a couple ways. I initially was thinking, okay, Rob is bringing on Eric because he's been more mild in his gameplay, like much more like unsuspecting. And I feel like Rob is bringing him on so he can immediately throw him to the wolves, point the group against him as a traitor, and then everyone will kind of think, oh, we've gotten now out 4 traitors, we've gotten all of them, and then Rob can slowly slip under the radar. But I could also see another angle where I agree with you that I don't think Rob wants to win with another person, but he can bring Eric along for long enough so that they can kind of keep this going and he can have a little bit more support. And then, of course, once it gets to the end, once it gets to a fire pit or an ending vote there, then get rid of him. They obviously are going to be using each other for a certain period of time and then trying to get rid of one another. The traitors always kind of have to turn on each other, but I don't know. I can't tell if Rob wants to work with him or if Rob just wants to immediately throw him to the faithfuls for banishment.
And if you're Eric, now that you know that Rob is a traitor and you're joining the traitors, you've seen Rob at the round tables. He has turned on Lisa and voted Lisa, right? He voted her. He clearly voted Candace, and he attacked Candace at the round table. So Eric has to know this guy's been a traitor since the beginning of the game, and he had no problem going after the other 2 traitors. Eric has to know, even if he wants to believe Rob has turned, it has to be in the back of his mind. At some point, I have to be aware that this guy might go after me, because he did it to the other 2 traitors.
And maybe we're underestimating Eric, because no one has ever thrown his name around. And quite frankly, it's shocking to me that more people haven't now started looking at Rob after Candace's throwaway vote and then her going for him at the round table. To me, that's just so obviously traitor on traitor. Yet this group of faithfuls, they're not too bright.
No.
The fact that, was it Kristen and someone else at the end of the last episode, they're like, well, it couldn't possibly be Rob. Like, he's so nice. People need to realize that, like, this is a game. You can be a really nice, wonderful, loving person and still have Alan tap you on the shoulder to be a traitor. That doesn't mean that's like indicative of your personality, but maybe we're not giving Eric enough credit because no one has looked at him literally at all. He's clearly like trusted by the faithfuls. Maybe now that he knows Rob's a traitor, he can turn the group on Rob. I don't know if he has that much like charisma and social sway the way Rob does. Like, Rob is getting away with a lot because he's so hot, and everyone, I think, just like gets mushy at the look at him. But I feel like maybe we're underestimating Eric because he does have such like trust from the faithfuls. He's been one this whole time.
By the way, who is Eric? He's a singer?
He is a singer. I've never heard any of his songs.
Is he a solo
I
artist?
don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like, talk about random.
Some of these picks have been like a little random and interesting to me, especially because like Traitors is the show that everyone in reality TV is trying to get on. And some of the people they ended up picking, like Michael Rappaport, why? Even Tara and Johnny, but I think that was like some Peacock NBC
for sure.
symphony, what they call it, when so that they can promote the Olympics at the same time.
Yeah, I believe the reunion show is being taped this weekend.
Okay.
Apparently, Johnny and Tara. How are Johnny and Tara going to be there? Aren't they in Paris right
now? In Italy.
Italy. I believe they're in Italy.
Probably. Right? Maybe they'll fly. Do a quick boop boop.
Yeah.
Do you know where they're filming it? Is it LA or New York?
Good question. I don't know, because Andy Cohen put out at the beginning of the week, send your questions. Yeah. Okay. He said send your questions for the Traitor reunion. And so it is happening this weekend. But
it might be New York then.
Yeah, it's either New York
Andy's
or LA.
More New York.
Yeah. All right. But the other thing that's interesting about where we're at in this game right now is, and it has been brought up, can't remember off the top of my head which person threw it out there, but they know they've gotten rid of 2 traitors, 3 actually, if you count Donna Kelsey.
Yeah.
And all those 3 traitors have been women. So logically, anybody there should be thinking any traitor left has to be a guy.
Yeah.
And the only men left are Rob, Eric, Johnny, Mark Ballas, and am I forgetting one? Mark. Colton's gone.
Yeah, that might.
Is it just those 4? Is it 5-5 left or 5-4 left?
I think there's 9 left.
Those are definitely 4 men that we know are left. Mark, Johnny.
Yeah, I
Eric,
think you got everyone.
Rob.
Yeah.
No, there's one. Oh, I want to say there's one other guy that I'm totally blanking on. People that are listening, you're probably screaming at us, but those are the 4 we can think of right now. If there is 9 left, it's 5. Then I think it's 5-4 women. But that doesn't. So that puts Rob, while he is playing the best game so far. I got to think somebody on the other side. And I thought somebody brought it up last episode. Like, doesn't the next traitor have to be a guy? There's only 4 options. Like, you're running out of time. But then again, don't they usually take, for the finale episode, don't they take 5 people when that episode starts? So we just might be at a point where Rob will be able to get number 9 and number 8 out.
And then they all go down to the fire pit. Yeah, I think it depends how many people.
And remember the last person.
Wait for a certain amount of people to go to the fire pit. It just kind of gets to like around 5-4 people.
And remember the last round table. When that person gets voted out, they don't say if they're a traitor or a faithful. Remember, they started that last season.
They started that last season. Are they going to keep that going? I guess. So. We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. But if we have to keep that in the back of our mind, that it is possible that they're going to do that.
That's like a messy little rule that they do, because I think that makes it really hard. So I would assume they'd probably keep doing that. Yeah.
And I think it makes the game more interesting because let's just say Rob and Eric get to that point, and let's say Eric is the one voted out and he doesn't say it. I mean, it can get really interesting. Or let's just say there's only one traitor left at that final roundtable, and that traitor gets voted out. Well, all the faithfuls are thinking, "Oh crap!" and they're standing around that final fire pit. Who's a traitor?
Right.
When
Yeah.
they're all faithfuls, but they don't know they're all faithfuls. They're probably
Right.
going after somebody. So it does make it interesting that last
Absolutely
person doesn't have to announce who they are.
Yeah.
All right, couple other things I want to talk about, and they're a little bit more on a serious nature. I didn't really know about this. I saw it because I follow her on Instagram over the weekend. Kaitlyn Bristowe got on her Instagram story and had a little bit of a crash out, was crying on her Instagram story, but I didn't know why. And you're a little more dialed into this than I am. So explain to people exactly what happened.
Yeah, so I think it was on one of the Off the Vine Facebook groups. Someone posted something about how they really haven't been liking Kaitlyn's interviews recently because she doesn't research her guests literally at all and then only asks them questions to like bring it back to herself and only talks about herself. If you look at the reviews of Off the Vine, that's sprinkled in there a lot. So I don't know how this one post was like new information to someone like Kaitlyn, but I guess like a couple people piled on in the comments and were like, yes, I agree. I don't even listen anymore. And she saw that. And that's when she kind of broke down and was like, oh my God, I didn't realize that people felt this way about my podcast. It's one of my favorite things that I do. I'm so sorry. I'm taking the feedback. But while she basically said that on her Instagram story, but she's like bawling, crying, filming herself. And my initial response was just that like, this comes off as like a little inauthentic. Like, I appreciate the vulnerability, sure, but like, think of all the steps that it takes to film yourself crying and then post it on your story, right? You opened your phone, you pressed record, you made sure the tears were flowing, you say your thing, you do your thing, you pause your crying, then click post. It comes off as a little fake to me. And I think that was a lot of people's then criticism of that I think she's really like gone awry along the way. I used to really, really like Kaitlyn Bristowe and think she was like super funny, super strong. But in the past like 5 years, something about her just like gives me the ick that she just comes off as very like almost immature, that there's not really like a lot of growth or self-awareness, and just kind of like she will do anything for like attention and the spotlight, but in a way that comes off as very inauthentic to me.
And I don't want to just pin it on Kaitlyn, because we see this a lot with content creators that film themselves having a crash out, film themselves crying. And again, I have the same sentiment as you do. I don't understand it. I don't understand. I understand that these people have a giant following and they don't want to show every single time everything they post is flowers and daffodils, that everything is so great in their life. And I understand they want to show like, hey, my life isn't perfect. I know you guys follow me. I've got 1.5 million followers, or whatever it is. And I want to be vulnerable with you. I want to show you sometimes the bad stuff, because as everybody says, Instagram is just a snapshot of somebody's life. It's not the true life of somebody. Everybody has bad times, but some Instagram influencers want to make sure you see those bad times. But what does that consist of? And it's exactly what you went over. Oh crap, I'm crying right now. I feel terrible. It's just really weird for me to think of, all right, let me get my phone and turn it on so everybody can see I'm having a bad day. I think you can be vulnerable with your listeners without recording yourself crying. Yes,
and also I think there's like there are levels to recording yourself crying. Like, had she just like gotten on there and been like, okay, I've heard some of the feedback, guys, this has been really hard for me, but I'm really gonna try to do better, and she was just like a little teary and then moved on. It's the fact that she was like mid bawling crash out crying. It's like, you couldn't just do that first and then maybe get on your stories and let people know you can still show tears and show vulnerability. It just, because it was so mid crash out, it's weird to me. Yeah, I don't know. The fact that that's the first thing you think of while you're like verbally sobbing is to get your phone out. I can see somebody turning on their Instagram story or recording a story, start your story not crying, but then the story becomes sad. Exactly.
That makes more sense to me. But like you said, this is, I'm starting to cry. I'm in full blown crash out mode. Now hit record and make sure this gets out there. that's the part that is like, yeah, I have no problem if people get sad telling a story online. Absolutely. There's nothing wrong
Sure,
with
of
that.
course, yeah.
This was different. And it's just like, again, this is not a, oh my God, Kaitlyn Bristowe is a horrible person. No, but she did something very, very big on her social media that we're not the only two people talking about this. Like, this was a major thing that a lot of people have commented on. And we're just throwing in our 2 cents here. And I don't see, the thing is, I don't listen to enough of Kaitlyn's podcast to know how good of a podcaster she is. What I do know is this, and it has happened. It's kind of the way that I've kind of dealt with things as well. And when you're a content creator and you do a lot of interviews, like Kaitlyn does a lot of interviews with, her, let's face it, her and Nick Vial in the Vial Files, they get a lot of big guests that you and me and She's All Bach and Chad and Courtney, we're never going to get those people as guests. So they have big platforms, and I'm sure PR teams are pitching them their contestants from whatever show. My thing is, I just don't think, especially with Nick and Natalie, because they are parents and have a child, I just don't think there's any way that Nick and Natalie, and I think evidenced by the Austin Kroll interview, I don't think there's any way that Nick and Natalie watch every single show of the guests that come on their show. I don't even think it's possible because they have so much other things going on in their lives. Kaitlyn, I don't know. Maybe all she does at home is watch reality TV. But for me, I just don't think it is possible to watch all these shows that these contestants that come on their podcasts are on. So you have to do just basic Google research, and something like that, that to me comes across as inauthentic. And I could tell you right now, in the almost 9 years I've been doing podcasts, I've never had a guest on from a show that I don't watch, and I'm pitched them all the time because I can't add anything to it. Like, could I interview a Real Housewife? I could, but I would be able to only ask the generic questions off Google. There would be no flow because I can't follow up when they give an answer of, oh yeah, on that season this happened. When you brought that up, Steve, I wouldn't be able to follow up with anything because I didn't watch the show. And I find it inauthentic. Other people can do it, and other people will have people on their podcast where they've never even seen their show, and that's fine. But for me, I can't do it. And my guess is that's probably what Kaitlyn goes through. I haven't seen all of her podcast guests. I don't know who she's had on all the time. But
I think there's a way to prep, even if you don't watch the show, there's a way to prep for it. And watch a couple clips on YouTube, do some research on what are some other things that people have asked them about, and you ask things in like a different way or something they haven't ever publicly spoken on. Like, there is a way to prep and research, even if you haven't watched a show that someone is on. And I think the thing with Kaitlyn is that, like, to show up with as big of a platform as you have, with as big of access that you have, with a whole team of people that are getting you guests that, like you said, are unattainable for some smaller podcasters, and to show up with no research or like interest in the person that you're interviewing just goes back to like not only the inauthenticity, but just like the level of entitlement and self-importance that you feel that you don't even need to research your guest because people will tune into your podcast regardless because they care about what you have to say. And I think that was more people's point, is like, hey, I'm tuning into this podcast because you have this really, really great guest, but all you do is keep bringing it back to yourself. And Kaitlyn's doing that because she thinks people want to hear more about her. And to me, that's where it comes off as like super out of touch and inauthentic, and just taking your platform for granted because you have so much access and resources that us smaller content creators don't have. That's where I get a little like on my soapbox, because like we have worked so hard to build platforms from like literally nothing. Like, you and I have never been on TV and still like have a job doing this. And so for people who have all of that advantage, to just take it for granted and think people just still want to hear like them ramble about themselves is pretty out of touch. I understand why people would be frustrated and want to like tune out of that.
And I think bringing it back to herself probably has to do with the fact that she doesn't have enough notes in front of her about this person. She's underprepared. Now, the thing that I don't know is, what was the interview that caused this? Like, clearly the latest
I
interview.
don't know if
who
there
it
was like a specific one. I think it was
Okay.
just like a general consensus. Because, like I said, if you look at the comments or the reviews on her podcast on like Apple Podcasts, people have been saying this for a long time. So I think it's just kind of like, I think that's why I was talking to Stephanie about it. And Stephanie had said that, like, how is this new information to her? Because people have been saying it for like a really long time. So to have that big of a crash out by one Facebook post is a little crazy.
Yeah, I did not know that. I did not know that has been the main criticism against Kaitlyn, because I just don't listen to her podcast, even when she has a major guest on. I mean, I've listened here and there to parts of things that I wanted to clip to talk about, so I had the exact quote, but I can't say I've ever listened to one from beginning to end. So yeah, it just goes back to, again, I don't want to pick on her. It's any content creator that films themselves in full crash out mode that I've never understood. And I understand it from the vulnerability part. They don't want to show everything in their life is perfect, like most people do on Instagram, but doing it in that way and doing it in the middle of a full cry session and not, I'm sad. I want to tell a story, guys. I'm sad because this happened to me today. Totally get that. It's what she did. That was a little bit like, whoa, wait a second.
And I'm curious to see if she actually does take this feedback and what types of changes she will make to her show. Because if she wants to keep the job going, like, she's going to have to adapt.
Speaking of feedback, real quick on this. This happened yesterday. So Sally Carson from Summer House did an interview with Sirius XM Radio. She's friends with Austin Kroll, obviously. I don't watch Summer House. They may have been a hookup in the past. But she basically came on and said,
so Sally, like the new girl from Summer House? I do watch Summer House, but
she's the one that was on Clayton's season, and then Bachelor in Paradise. She had the dildo in her suitcase. She was on Paradise.
Wait, what do you mean from Summer House, though?
Am I saying the wrong show?
Southern Charm she was on. Because I don't watch Southern Charm, but I do watch Summer House, and I'm like, wait, when was she on Summer House? Okay.
The one that Austin Kroll is on, and we all know I'm talking about the Nick and Natalie interview where Natalie brought up Austin's sister who died in front of him at 9 years old, and Natalie had no idea about it. Anyway, Sally went on a Sirius XM podcast yesterday and said she's spoken to Austin since that interview, and she has said Nick and Natalie have privately apologized to Austin.
Okay.
But Sally has said, I think it should be public. And she said exactly what I was thinking. She's like, wait, well, why wouldn't you do this publicly? Because you don't want to admit you're wrong? Exactly. Like,
probably.
The fact that Nick and Natalie have privately apologized to Austin, to me, makes it worse. Because now they are admitting, we've heard the feedback. We know we're getting killed for this. But we still don't want to come on our own podcast and let all these people who are criticizing we don't want to let them know that we know we made a mistake. We'll just privately apologize. There's nothing wrong with just coming out and saying, hell, even if you want to come out and say we've privately apologized to Austin.
Right.
Because then at least you're admitting to your audience. But now it's been 2 weeks. Like, at this point, it doesn't matter. It seems, again, if they did it now, to me, it would be inauthentic. But hearing that yesterday, that Austin has been apologized to privately by Nick and Natalie, honestly, to me, that makes it worse. Like, I would rather just keep ignoring it.
It makes it a little better because at least there's some sort of reflection on their end where, like, they know what they did was wrong. They apologize to the person most affected by their unpreparedness and just like inability to read the room. I agree with you that I think it would be better to make it public, to just like let it be known that they took the feedback and reflected and tried to go make it right. Also, too, they have no idea how many other people were maybe affected listening to that episode who have had similar tragedies happen to them. So like just acknowledging that like this is a tough thing and they handled it the wrong way, I think would maybe go a long way. But I do think it makes it a little bit better than flat out ignoring it and never saying it. Like, would it be better if they never said anything to Austin? Like that's messed up, you know?
It's bare minimum, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I would agree. I would agree. It's the bare minimum. Yes. Yeah,
it's the bare minimum.
For sure.
They did at least apologize. But again, knowing Nick and Natalie, and we don't have the full details. How soon after this interview did it happen? And did they only apologize because they saw the backlash? Like that's
Yeah.
how
I don't know.
authentic is this apology? Because it really does sound like they weren't interested in apologizing or talking about this publicly.
No, for
Anyway,
sure.
do you have time to go over this last thing? Or you
Sure. Yeah, I have a little bit of time.
Okay. So one last thing I wanted to talk about. Love is
Okay.
Blind started today.
Yeah.
Or yesterday it came out. First 6 episodes. You're not a Love is Blind watcher, but this doesn't have to do with the show itself and what we saw.
I've watched it in the past. I watched maybe the first 3 seasons and then was like, I've seen enough. I know what this is.
Yeah. So the only thing that we're going to talk about this is because at the time of this recording, I have not seen the episodes that dropped yesterday. Once we're done here and I make our clips and stuff like that, then I'm going to spend the rest of my afternoon watching the first drop of episodes that came out yesterday. But when the cast was announced last week, which they usually do for Love is Blind, they usually wait a very long time. First off, Love is Blind, this season that's airing was filmed. This is the Ohio season, and this was filmed end of February, beginning of March last year. So these people have had to sit on this for a year, whatever has happened. And then 10 days before the first episodes drop, they released the cast. And under one of the men, somebody wrote that she was essayed by this man back in May of last year after the show had filmed. And she just wanted to let everybody know that one of the cast members on Love is Blind this year, I have no idea how much camera time he got. All I know is he's not one of the people that gets engaged, but clearly somebody that violated her boundaries as a woman. She had no idea, but she had hooked up with this guy back in May of last year. All of a sudden now she sees he's on Love is Blind as a cast member. She clearly has no idea what happened to him, but makes it known in the comments section underneath the pictures, this guy essayed me last year. And went into more details, then ended up giving a 5-minute TikTok video, putting her name and face behind it. And there has been criticism coming her way of, well, why didn't you report this at the time? And what do you expect the show to do now? And she came out and flat out admitted, no, I'm not saying why did the show cast him? Because number one, I did not file a police report after it happened. And number two, this happened after the show was done filming. So no, they wouldn't have known he did this to me. But I just want to make it known that this is the type of guy he is. And it brings up a lot of questions of morality and should people do this to other people on reality TV? But I'm not here to dismiss what she went through, because you saw the Instagram stories that she posted. I sent them to you. I just want to know, I want a woman's perspective on this. And it's tough. And I don't want to get into your personal life, but I kind of just want to throw it out there as a woman. If this had ever happened to you, if you had ever been with a man that did that to you, what this woman is saying happened to her, and then you saw a year later, 2 years later, 5 years later, say it happened in college, and then 5 years later, you saw that this guy was cast to be on a reality show, and the show had already filmed, there's nothing that you could do about not having him on the show. What would your action be? What would you do if you saw that?
I mean, I don't know what my action would be, because like for every individual, it's their own experience, and like everyone reacts to things in different ways. But in this case, like I think she's totally within her right to want to share her story. Even though it's like the show didn't know about this, there's nothing the show can really do about it at this point. This is something that happened after they even filmed the show. Why is she not allowed to share her experience? I understand as a woman how frustrating it can be to see someone who assaulted you go on to like live their life and no one really knows about it. Because so often, right, men, this happens way more often than I think people realize, and way more often than is ever like reported or any action is taken against. And so like I understand why someone would want to just have that information out there and share their side, because so often like people do these things with no repercussions. They live their life perfectly fine afterwards. So I don't get why people have such backlash against her. Why can't she share what happened to her and her perspective? And then people can make their own decisions if they want to continue to follow this guy or support him, or be like, oh, this guy sounds like a piece of garbage, gonna not follow him. Why is that bad?
Yeah, and I think there's levels to this because I've dealt with this in Bachelor Nation when people come to me about a contestant, and there's certainly levels to it because some people will be like, "Oh my God, that guy was a total dick to me in college, cheated on me all the time. He's a womanizer," and they, you find out they went to college 7 or 8 years ago, and it's just like, I'm sorry, a guy that cheated on you in college is different than this situation.
Very, yeah.
And I think it's one thing to write in the comments section and just throw it out there. This man right here did this to me, and then disappear into thin air. I think this woman's story lends a little bit more credibility because she has taken accountability in terms of showed Instagram shots of, while I didn't file a police report, here's a text message I sent to my best friend the next day. Here's a text message I had back and forth with my therapist. And then she ended up doing a 5-minute TikTok video where she put her name and her face out there. And I just don't think, yes, there are some crazy women out there that maybe just want revenge on a guy that dissed them and did bad things to them and just and are just making stuff up to get back at a guy that they don't like. And maybe it didn't happen. But when you put your name and your face behind it, I tend to think she has a little more credibility than just someone who goes online anonymously and slams somebody. But I understand even the
but are
anonymous
people
ones.
saying that she's lying, or
People
are they
saying,
just
"Why are you doing
unhappy
this?"
with that she's putting this out there because it can now ruin this guy's reputation?
Why are you doing this? What is it? What does it accomplish now? Is what the criticism is. I don't get it, but I'm just telling you what the criticism is of her. Why say this now? Well, apparently,
because he's in a public platform, he is probably going to get a lot more of attention from a lot more women than he has ever gotten before. I think she's within her right to like share her story about what a bad guy this guy is.
And I think 2 things have come of it. Number one, she has said ever since she has come out with her TikTok, 4 other women have come to her privately and said he did the exact same thing to me.
Right.
So this has become a bigger deal. And that was her message from the beginning, which was, I just want people to know. And if anybody else has been through with this guy, the same thing with this guy, please contact me and let me know. And apparently 4 other women have reached out to her and said exact same thing. He's got some sort of certain kink that he does without the consent of the woman. And the second thing is, she has said now, I don't know if she's gone through with it yet, but she has said, I think I am going to go file a police report now. It's within the last year. Yeah. And I think that's what, by coming out publicly and telling her story and being criticized for not going to the police, even though that's just an asinine thing to criticize a woman for after the fact, because most essays go unreported. And the ones that do get reported, I think it's 7% that get reported. And of those 7%, 2% end up getting like convicted.
Yeah. No, so, I hate when people say like, why didn't you go to the police? It comes from such a place of like no understanding of like the emotional toll that something like that takes on someone and how much like internal shame there is to it. And especially when people respond in such a negative way, then there's so much like internal doubt and internal like, oh, well, is this also my fault? Did I not, because I didn't speak up at the time? Yeah, no, it's so layered and it's so nuanced, and people who say that just like, good for you. Congrats that you've never had to have a horrible experience like that. Yeah. So I think it's really inspiring that she's finally saying like, you know what, because I've come out about this and other people have come out about this as well, that I am going to go file a police report, because people should be held accountable for literal crimes that they commit. And I don't know, I'm very in support of women speaking out about these experiences, because it does make other women feel comfortable to either speak out about their own experiences or come to terms with things that may have happened to them that they're like, like, was this assault? Was it not? Is this somehow my fault? But when you hear other women's stories and you hear how similar they all are, you start to realize, oh no, this wasn't just like something that happened to me that like I handled this situation wrong. Like this is a pattern. This is how it happens. And then you can kind of like, it almost like gets the gaslighting out of your own brain.
Yeah. And I think something that I have said for a few years now, ever since kind of the Me Too movement took off, is it doesn't necessarily have to mean believe all women, because then it's just like, wait a second, what if they are lying? It should just be, first off, listen to all women, because for the
Yes.
longest time, nobody listened to them. And number
Yeah.
two, every situation where a woman comes out about anything that happened to them, each one of those situations are isolated incidents. So get the facts for that particular story, that particular case, and then make your decision. But listen to them, because for the longest time, they couldn't even tell their story. And
Yeah.
God, even ones that did go to the police don't listen to them. So they're like, why am I going to go? Nobody's going to believe me. And in this situation with her, again, people are like, well, why didn't you file a police report? All this stuff. Again, this happened in, I think, her apartment, she said, or her place. Unless she has cameras rolling in her house or she was running the recording on her phone, it's a he said, she said in this situation. Right. And that's what it comes down to. So she can say this happened to me, and like on her TikTok explained kind of in detail what his kink was and what he does and what she didn't consent to. Mm-hmm. Some people still sit there and say like, well, if I didn't see any footage of this, if I don't know, how do we know she's not making this up? And then it's just like, well, now you're just banging your head against a wall if you're just never going to believe and never going to listen to some woman. But I think it's one thing to just throw it out there in a comment section under Love is Blind. But the fact that she went deeper, went to her Instagram story, then did a 5-minute TikTok, I think that lends a little more credibility than to somebody who just says, oh my God, this guy did this to me 5 years ago. I understand anonymously doing it because somebody, immediately that your name is out there, some people are going to attack you and you're going to get this unwanted emails and DMs from people, strangers on the internet saying, shut up, leave him alone or stuff like that. Yeah. She has gone full chest out there saying, this is who I am. This is when it happened. Here are some of the texts I sent to my friends the next day. Maybe I didn't report him, but I was clearly talking about it. So just to let you know, I'm not making it up. And she said, I don't care if you believe me or not. It's my story. And I'm here to share it. And like you said, 3 or 4 more women apparently have come to her behind the scenes and said the guy did the exact same thing to me. So that's an issue. And I'm just, it's just annoying to see people immediately attack somebody and say, why didn't you file a police report? It's like, just do a basic Google search on SA and how many people don't file police reports. 93% of them don't. That happen.
Right.
So
yeah. But the fact that now she is going to do it. So it's like she's clearly like standing behind her words and is like, okay, yeah, it might have taken a minute to come to terms with it, but she's doing it. And now she has other women to back up her story. Good. Especially if this is a pattern and he's doing the exact same thing to other women, let's get that police report filed and let's like take care of this.
Yeah. So. And I'm just wondering at this point, I don't know what he's going to do. He hasn't released anything. He hasn't put anything else out there, but obviously he's aware of what is being said about him. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes. But yeah, as a woman, just know, obviously I'm not a woman, but I've read enough about this to know that the reason people don't file police reports right away, like you said, they start doubting themselves. Maybe it didn't happen the way that, maybe it happened a different way than I thought, or the shame to retell it. You're sitting there in a police office in a police department, having to retell physical, intimate details that this man did to you to probably a male police officer is something that most people don't want to do. Most women, from what I've read, they just want to put it out of their mind and they don't want to think about it. And if this guy never went on this show and he was never on a cast list, she probably never would have done anything. But this guy is stupid enough, knowing he did this in his past, to go on a reality show. It's almost like, dude, you brought this upon yourself.
For sure. Yeah.
It's just ugly. So let's just listen and not immediately jump down people's throat for not filing a police report on something that happened to them, even if it was 10 months ago. It's just amazing. Anyway,
totally
Jackie, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was fun.
Sorry you couldn't make it to Backstreet Boys.
Backstreet Boys, that's okay. I will make my yearly pilgrimage to Vegas for your birthday in a few months.
Were you a fan of them? Were you a Backstreet Boys fan?
I was. Stephanie's going with some of her friends who she was like fans with growing up. But I definitely was Backstreet Boys, NSYNC girl. Okay. Yeah.
Anyway, all right. Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. And we'll talk soon.
All right. See you later. Bye.